and the knowledge, and as smart as he can be.
We're going to start? Okay.
Okay.
Tell me when we're on.
It's good.
We're on? Mm-hmm. Okay, welcome everybody. It's Election Day, Tuesday, November 6, 2018, and we're having a board meeting at the Montgomery County Board of Elections. We have a quorum present, and basically our agenda today is an update on Election Day activities. And I would note that everybody's been out and about, really doing a terrific job, staff, the board, plugging all the holes and any issues that come up we're addressing. Margaret, your staff is doing a great job. Anyway, update on election activities. We've been texting each other all morning on a lot of issues, but I'll start with Alan. We've been getting your text, but any comments or it's just an update on Election Day today.
Yeah, I've passed on everything I've heard there, and where did Kevin go? I asked him about.
You want to wait for Kevin?
Yeah.
All right.
Jack. The St. Matthew Church. I thought it was really, really cramped.
We sent 2 people out to, for whatever reason, they did not expand the expandable doors. We sent 2 of our staff people out there, and the doors were expanded to give them more space.
Wonderful. That's terrific.
We don't know why St. Matthew's did what they did.
I called in or texted all the issues I found, and I don't think I have any pending issues right now. Thank you.
What would be your highlight or headline issues other than the ones the little ones that we see?
Well, they're really isolated.
Okay.
One place there was a poll book printer. Another place, there are scanners down different places. So there are a variety of different things. I can't see an endemic issue throughout the system.
If we had to give today an early voting a headline, was it we don't have enough scanners?
I can't say that because right now we're getting the numbers at 11 o'clock. The judges are calling in. So one of the things that we are doing is to make sure that, because it's a 3-page ballot, which is a big issue this election, we need to make sure that we have enough blue bins out there so that it doesn't overflow, because if it gets too full, then the scanner jams. The numbers are way below the presidential, so what we believe the issue is the 3-page ballot, and that is what's causing things to slow down. We deployed the same pieces of equipment that we did in the presidential election, and obviously the 3-page ballot I believe is creating some of the problems. So what this is going to mean is that when there is the 2020 presidential election general, the board is going to have to bite the bullet and get additional scanners for various precincts. And then you're going to be facing another problem, and that is, where are you going to store them?
And that is what?
Where are you going to store them?
Oh, store them.
Mm-hmm.
And probably in some cases where you're going to place them in some of these precincts, right?
Some of the small
locations.
And you've got the special plug you have to have, etc. Yeah.
You can't have it too close to the wall because it overheats. A whole bunch of events.
Margaret, in your experience, the lines we're seeing in reporting, similar to past elections or greater, bigger? You have a line
it's
issue?
There's some places that I've heard have no lines, and then there's down county, which seems to be very, very busy, and they have lines. So it's again, probably the turnout that I've observed that's the greatest was the first Obama election, 2008, and that was the greatest turnout. But it was a whole different voting system. But there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that this county must have additional scanners for both early voting as well as election day. And some of these locations that we had early voting we're not going to be able to go back to.
Can we put that in the budget so we don't have to ask for it separately?
Sure.
Doesn't that make
We're going to
sense?
have a new administration, so
Well, yeah,
we'll be
yeah.
pitching some
Right.
new stuff. Yes. So, but I did order prior to the election as many scanners that were in the state of Maryland. There were only 6, and we have them. And we are, and we've deployed, and Kevin knows where we've deployed. He's the keeper of the extra deployment right now. And
0805, 0410, 723, 719, 0802, 052,
They each got one.
7, yeah.
So those precincts now have 3 scanners each.
Well, some of them
some
have,
of them
some of them
were
have
replaced.
inoperable ones.
Yeah,
Some of them
like
have a replacement.
8.2,
Yeah.
8.2, that was a replacement. So it's coming back, and
410 is the same.
we're going to look at it and see if it was some sort of human error, malfunction, and if we could redeploy it, we will in case of an emergency.
Is the number of scanner issues we're having today, it seems like it's more than we've had before.
You have very wet environment because of all the rain and humidity, and
Right.
paper, humidity affects the paper, and paper is going to be affected by this in the scanner.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, that would contribute to some of the problems.
Okay. Yeah.
And as far as the scanners are concerned, third ballot means it's 50% higher turnout in terms of cards turning out and going into that scanner.
You're saying because of having the
3 sheets.
3 sheets.
3 sheets instead of 2, yeah.
Right. So the scanner is getting, at the same time that the paper is humid, the scanner is getting a bigger workout than it would get otherwise.
One of the other issues I encountered twice, I mentioned it to Kevin, 2 voters claim to be getting pre-marked ballots.
Right.
What's the story with that?
Well, the one I couldn't find in Germantown, the name. So
I'll give you his name and you can
yeah.
contact him.
So what happened was the voter was given basically the second page of the ballot, 2 page 2s. He filled out both page 2s and then returned one. It said, "Are the ballots pre-marked?" And he said, "No. It was an issue with a voter that was given the second page twice."
And then scanned it.
No, he
They catch it
returned. He
before.
brought it back.
They just
and
probably
I-
didn't spoil
and
it
they
right
probably
away.
didn't spoil it correctly.
Right.
And
It's
so
the
then when
line
they handed it to the
just-
next person, that
Oh, I see.
particular
Right.
thing,
That's what happened.
that's the problem with it, which is unless you immediately spoil that
Yeah.
page,
Right.
you run the risk of just, okay, well, here's the next page 2.
That's what happened in the situation that I mentioned from, I think it was 2 years ago,
Yeah.
where basically a spoiled ballot accidentally ended up on the table with the rest of the ballots and got handed to somebody.
Right. So that was the
It was
issue.
not marked spoiled like it should have been.
Right.
I think one of the, and with regards to the spoiled ballots, and I think Alan sent this to me after close of early voting, but setting up the end of the ballot table, and so that when an individual comes back with a spoiled ballot, they have to sit there and, before they're given anything, handed a black magic marker and told to spoil it right that very second, and then the ballot issued. I think that was a great lesson learned, that we couldn't turn it around fast enough considering that the last day of early voting was the first day of the chief judge briefing.
Dave, so we're going around. Do you want to just go around the table? Any thoughts?
Sure. From what I'm hearing from people that I ran into, the turnout today is larger than it's been. I was at Forest Knolls Elementary this morning, and the judge said we've never had lines like this, and she's including the presidential. I don't know if it means everyone's voting at the same time, because the weather could also, people may have voted early today in order to, at the moment the weather seems okay, but in any event, I have been hearing a lot about the scanner issues, including...
You mean that they're waiting in line Too long?
Both waiting in line and the scanners being down. I was at Tilden Middle School this morning and remembered that you and I were there for the primary, and they had a scanner down then, I believe, which is why we were there, because we were there to help scan the ballots, and they have a scanner down today.
Which one at Tilden?
The cafeteria. In both cases, it was.
I was there last night.
Yeah,
We had
yeah.
difficulty in the setup in one, but it didn't involve the scanners.
Yeah, well, and I don't know that there was a human element. It might just be, like Margaret was saying, it could be the humidity. It could be any number of things. But whatever the case, there was some, and I think we saw some of this in the text that we all exchanged. There was some information that was being shared that was not accurate. And people were kind of, sometimes they fill in what they think the answer is without actually knowing the answer, such as when we're going to scan the ballots, where we're going to scan the ballots, because someone was told that we were going to scan the ballots at the Board of Elections, and I think that made some people unhappy, and of course it's not accurate. And
What you mean, when they filled them out, we were going to bring them all back and scan them ourselves?
basically, when the scanner's down and there's a lot
Oh, I
of people
see.
for
Oh, okay.
one scanner, also I had to coach the judges to tell the people who were in line for the one scanner that they had an option, if they didn't want to wait, that they could use the emergency bypass in the other scanner. And some voters basically look at you and say, not on your life, not ever, no matter what. And other ones were like, oh, I can get out of here? Great.
Yeah.
So I mean, really, and I didn't get a chance to do a poll and see if they fit any particular profile. I think it's just
The bypass being that little tray.
the bypass being the little tray that later on today,
Yeah.
a Democrat and a Republican, or anyway, two different party affiliations will scan through the scanner. But
And you had somebody who said they weren't going to put it in there?
there are people who literally said, "No, I'll wait," and gave a look like, "Are you kidding?
Yeah.
What are you trying to do?"
Right.
So yes, no, there are people. I mean, people have, they basically figured that this is their opportunity to put the ballot in there. This is essentially putting the ballot in the ballot box.
Right.
So from their perspective, they didn't want it touched by any human hands other than theirs. And then others who were very happy to have that, but they didn't know until they'd already been waiting in line for a long time that that was an option. So I was suggesting that periodically they work the line and basically say, if you don't want to wait, there's this alternative. They were doing some of that before I left. I went over there originally because I had been told that there were issues with dividing people into the two polling places at Tilden, and they do have a greeter there. His pitch to people when they came in was not always as clear as it could have been, and everyone has a different way of knowing where they're going. Anyone who thought their simple ballot was easy, then we had their precinct. Otherwise, I found that the most effective thing was to ask them which side of Old Georgetown Road they lived on, and usually they understood after that where they were going. I don't know what we did in the primary, but in the primary this was almost a non-issue.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the what the difference is.
Were they using a student greeter there? Or
No. They had an adult greeter there. And he was associated. He was, I believe, part of the precinct that was in the gym. But the precinct in the gym was not having all the other issues that the precinct in the cafeteria was having. So I didn't feel like it made sense to suggest to the precinct in the cafeteria that they contribute to this. So anyway, and a lot of people came and left and voted, and and all of that. But the biggest issue right now that I've heard about is the one at the Presner Center, where there appears to be a large number of people in line, and apparently some chatter about it on social media, which I'm not on, but people are sending me screenshots of social media where they, where they're talking about it. because it does seem like it's, and I'm sure there's a lot of confusion because it was an early voting site.
What kind of confusion? Yeah, what do you mean?
Well, if you remember when we did the provisional ballot count for the primary, we had a large number of provisional ballots from polling places that either were early voting sites or were close to early voting sites. So you may remember the Silver Spring Library, for example, had a large number of provisional ballots, which I think is because people went to the Silver Spring Civic Center thinking there'd be a polling place there. There wasn't, and the library's right down the street. We also had a large number from some of, I don't remember exactly which.
Kingsview.
I'm sorry?
Kingsview, which is a German town.
Yeah. I mean, we basically there were a number of polling places that do double duty, and I think people go there thinking that they can vote anywhere, like it's early voting, and then discovering that that's not the case. I don't think that's the entire problem at Praisner today, because it also sounds like they may have a scanner down. And that would also, add to the line.
They no longer do. They're done.
How many do they have there? Up to 2, 3? Two.
But you're saying they now have 2 working?
My understanding is that they are now fully functional with whatever their original number was at Praisner.
Okay.
But they did have a backup.
And it could be that they just need someone to work the line and find out if people are voting there who could be voting somewhere else. Because if they can be voting somewhere else, then that would spread out the turnout instead of having it all in one place.
Which I know our roamer out there was doing for a while. I'm not sure what their current situation is.
Right. Now, I haven't been there. This is all stuff that I've heard. Yeah. There's no question that the turnout is going to be an issue everywhere, and obviously there's a limit to what we can do for that. But if we have things that we can do, obviously, that's worthwhile. So that's all I have for now.
I don't have any issues. I went to B'nai Israel this morning because I was really interested. I was also there last night to see the setup. What a great facility. What everybody told me there today, voting, is, can we use this permanently?
Was there a police present?
There was a police car sitting in front. It was, not staffed.
Right in front of the shul?
Right in front on the driveway, not where you can drive through, but on the circle. Yeah.
There are always at least one police.
Yeah, that's true.
Pardon me, at least?
There's always.
Always, okay.
Yeah, they have a police officer that lives there.
Right.
Okay.
Right, yeah.
Well, so the car was there. I did not see, and I didn't expect to see, because they said that they were going to be behind, whatever.
It's just the car?
But it was the car. But I think that sends enough of a
that's what
message.
it is.
Unless people
They're
come and say, "Oh my
plainclothes.
God, why are the police here?"
Plainclothes
But
officers.
is that what it is?
Was it busy?
Not particularly, but that precinct's never really wildly busy that I found. But yeah, as I say, people, it's a great facility, it's a beautiful room, parking's easy.
They asked Chief Manger and were given additional police officers for today, given what happened in Pittsburgh and the fact that they had school
Right.
and other things. Activities going on there during the day.
Other temples too, or just that one?
Just that one, I believe.
Just that one.
Yeah, it was just that.
Nobody else asked.
Because I think they were the only one
no,
that
that's
had
not true.
school in session.
What happened was at Temple Emmanuel, they didn't ask for anything additional. Temple Beth Ami is charging us for an additional security guard.
Oh, really?
And JCC felt that their coverage was adequate.
They
And
always have one in the front desk.
okay, and so that was the 4 locations that we covered with police force.
Then once I got to Walter Johnson, where I was doing the interview, I stayed because I was relieving various backups in different places. So I either did some line management to voting booths, or I was handing out ballots, and I figured, well, I'm useful here. It's better than just dropping in and out of places because I know basically if there's a real problem, they phone it in to the help desk. So I hope that was okay.
Yeah, I went to 3 locations. I missed a lot because I had to go to Silver Spring for an interview with Japanese television, which after an hour and a half on 270.
You speak Japanese?
No. But after an hour and a half on 270, she canceled. But anyway, I went to...
She was probably stuck on 270, huh?
Watkins Mill High School and Stedwick, near my house. And then that precinct down where I went to meet the Japanese television. I've never been there. The Montgomery College Cultural Arts Center.
Cultural Arts Center,
Wow, the place
1347.
was jumping. And a woman walking out, I said, "How long did you wait?" She said, "Well, almost an hour." But it was organized, no problems. I didn't see any problem. One thing I'm so impressed with from everybody sitting around this table, whenever somebody shoots to Margaret that there's a problem, you guys resolve it almost immediately. I'm really impressed. I'm really
But
impressed.
I've run out of scanners.
No, I'm just saying, the backup we have and the resolution to issues is really impressive. Really impressive. I mean, overall, I think it's going smooth. There's always issues here and there, but I think the election's running very smoothly today. Huge turnout, but hopefully it continues like that. I'll be here tonight. I get such a kick out of standing on that balcony.
I know.
Watching them come in with all the memory sticks, and the lights, and the cops. I'll be here, although Margaret doesn't allow any alcohol in front of us.
Do you need a cigar or something?
No.
No.
There's still lines at St. Peter's precinct 801. Supposedly it took 3 hours to vote.
3?
What?
Yeah.
Where's this?
St. Peter's 0801.
3 hours?
Which one?
That seems a little...
Oh, wait,
You would have heard that
where
about
is
that.
I don't know.
We would have heard about that, I'm
St.
sure.
Peter's Church?
Where's it?
Only.
St. Peter's.
You would have heard something.
The only thing I've heard about in Olney is the 8-2, the Greenwood precinct.
Yeah, that's been the only thing I've heard.
Yeah, you think...
Even the Olney media
Specific.
is only reporting on their little blog is only reporting on Greenwood.
Where's Greenwood in Albany? Where's Greenwood in Albany? Elementary school?
Yeah, it's an
I
elementary.
believe it's on the west side of Georgia Avenue.
What was the issue? Scanner issue?
I'll look it up for you.
Yes, it was a scanner issue. Scanner went down, scanner was fixed, scanner wouldn't stay fixed, new scanners were sent.
So, Nahid, you're on Argentine television today?
No, their group, 24 of them.
You speak Spanish?
Me, I speak French.
What? Do they speak English?
They have translated.
Oh, okay.
Besides, I speak English too.
And Arabic.
Actually, Whitman had 723 has 7 o'clock. Long waiting.
We sent another scanner there.
You send them scanner? Good, because they
Where's
were
that
short.
one, Nahid?
Walt Whitman High School on BTL Boulevard River Road. And the rest of them, I visited a lot of churches. They say that I guess God is looking over us. No problem. And one of the church people served them food. Isn't that nice? Yeah.
I didn't see
And there was
food
some
anywhere
problem
today, and I
with the
was
sound.
hungry.
I mean,
Oh, I saw big sales all over
Yeah,
the place.
Watkins
Kevin,
Mill
did
has
you
a-
send
I
them
had to- I had to
told with the
restrain
printer
myself.
was something wrong with the printer? I told you, told
Yeah.
the printer was out.
Yes, the printer court,
Yeah.
yes, we sent that out.
I mean, it was a problem, but we solved them.
that's-
There was
I've been
shortage
solved.
of people. May I know that we jump in and help them, so it's okay. The Argentinian, they had some senator with them and some other people. Representative from president's office was there, so they were happy about it. Yeah.
Alex, how were your travels?
Well, apart from the rain, I was up in Germantown and North Gaithersburg, and everything in general was proceeding smoothly. I had a chief judge who, when I was going to talk with him, he said, "Alex, do you like chili?" I said, "Yeah, come here." So he made a whole pot in the school cafeteria.
At 7 in the morning?
Yeah, at 7 in the morning.
Oh, wow.
So,
So you ate chili at 7 in the morning?
well, it was maybe a little after 8, I guess. By the time. He wrote me this note in Cyrillic that said, "I am a Russian spy." So, he had a good sense of humor.
Hopefully.
But no, but seriously, everything was going smoothly in all the places I looked at. I think uniformly they all had lines running from 40 to 50 people at 7 a.m.
I'm not going to run out of
I think
bed.
Quince Orchard Library.
Get my equipment to work.
Or was it was one of the other ones in Gaithersburg had maybe 200 people vote by 8 o'clock.
Yeah,
so
that's good.
So turnout has been heavy, but everyone has all the supplies they need, and the only issue was a poll book, which I had texted in. And Rachel Carson, I think it was.
And when's our next rush? About 5 o'clock?
Sometimes it never occurs.
Yeah.
Historically, Montgomery County is a morning voters. Now there's some in the western, like Poolesville, Damascus, Clarksburg, that will see a slight bump. But when Allison and I are looking at allocation, it goes like this.
Oh, really? So we don't expect.
But with the rain today, I'm guessing there'll be.
Yeah, that's true. The rain there could be a bump
Should
tonight.
get better.
Yeah, it looks nice now.
But it's supposed to.
Yeah, it's not going to be
3 to 4
It's
o'clock.
supposed to not be so nice later on.
Yeah,
There's
it's supposed to get
thunderstorms
real
and
bad. Yeah,
cold fronts
thunderstorm.
coming through.
Did everybody open on time? I mean, mostly.
I think so. Yeah, we were trying to get that confirmation. I'm going to let Allison address that.
I don't have any reports of
No,
any
one of our board
precincts that
members
did not
texted us.
open on
We
time.
did get a text this morning that somebody was a few minutes late.
Yeah, that
What
was
was that?
up at Ridgeview, I think, opened about 2 or 3 minutes late because they had a scanner problem and they resolved it. So.
Okay.
Okay, that's good. Hey, Jeff.
On the police, Brian Kildee says that there was a police car parked at the Temple Emmanuel parking lot, but he didn't see any officers inside.
Yeah, that's.
Are we still researching that 3-hour wait at St. Peter's?
I asked more information about it if I what the problem was.
I'll call and
Thank
send
you.
you. Jim, I know you love my text. I'll go ahead and send you a text with the answers to the question.
I had
I'll run over.
no problems. Tamper seals were not delivered at Rosemary Hills, and they were concerned about that. 49 in line at Rock Creek, and that was steady. There was maybe 50 when I left, and 55 at Rosemary Hills in line.
St. Peter's Parish.
North Chevy Chase had no ADA sign in their packet. They didn't care much about it.
Well, they should.
Well, thank you. I'm not in charge of people how they should feel, only how they do. About 50. And fortunately, there was no problem of people getting in and out. The Chevy Chase Library bothers me a little bit. There is something I didn't know anything about, nor did they, and you're now telling me the League of Women Voters comes in and does a survey, and they're allowed to come in and talk to the chief judges, I take it.
Yeah.
And chief judges are not informed ahead of time about it. These weren't. And she asked me about it and said it's from the Board of she said she was from the Board of Elections. What is it? Well, I looked it over and read it, and I hadn't a clue. And she also wanted to know what the ballot voting certificate. There was something in there called the ballot voting certificate, and she had this chief judge I was talking to at the Chevy Chase Library had no idea what that was, and was a little disturbed when I didn't recognize it. I said I was coming here and I'd find out, and I'll go back and tell her. I don't know why there's something about it that I didn't like. I didn't like the League of Women Voters coming in and interviewing these people, handing them this, and not explaining, or in that woman's mind, this judge's mind, it was us that was doing it.
It is us doing it. We're required by law, regulation by the State Board of Elections. They are the Board of Elections' eyes to ensure compliance with all of the various requirements that are.
The League of Women Voters is?
We hire them it's not our staff, and we hire the League of Women Voters, and they go out to all the polling places and ensure that all of the signs, the processes and procedures are being followed.
Did everybody know about this? Am I the only one that didn't know about it?
I did.
I knew that.
You knew that?
They pay
Yeah.
them.
I
Did you know about it?
half knew something.
How much did you know about it?
Half-ish. I knew that they were doing surveys, but
We pay them
we pay them
7,000. How much is it now? Used to
I
be
think it's
7,000.
5,000
5,000.
for the year.
But the thing is, the way they handle themselves is a little bit wrong. Like they're the board of election, they're members, something. They don't say they're from League of Women Voters.
No, they are
If they're a
the
contractor for
Board
us, they are.
of Elections.
No. They said
They are
they're
the Board of
members.
Elections. They're working for us. We control their work product. We control the outcome of those reports.
No, they're representing themselves, they're board member. But the chief just said, are they board member? I said, no, they're not board member.
Which precinct was this
They
that we
are-
had that complaint?
Margaret, how many
Chevy
precincts
Chase
did
line.
how many precincts did they go?
732.
Every one?
Well,
Today? They'll be at every one?
yeah.
And I ran into a League of Women Voters person at Tilden,
Wow.
and she was actually quite helpful in pointing out things that I might want to see, which I appreciated.
What do they observe? They have a checklist of
Yes.
things?
Yeah,
and then
yes.
they speak?
They have a
They're-
checklist.
They
The
are,
number of
they are,
pages
they are very
long.
thorough.
They have a checklist and then they speak to the chief judge?
Yes.
Yes, they're supposed to. So, for instance, if they fail to put up the sign for how to scan your ballot, then they will make a notation to the chief judge that that sign needs to go up. I will tell you that the very first time in 2002 and 2004, when we were under the Section 203 mandate, the League of Women Voters were instrumental in telling us that our chief judges were upset with the Spanish language mandate and were tearing off the Spanish language of the bilingual message. So, I mean, it gave us a very good roadmap of where we needed to go, where we maybe needed to retire some folks, or change their attitude.
Did they give us
about
an
that.
omnibus?
We've
written
turned that
report?
corner. We haven't had a complaint of that.
Yeah, a long
Well,
very
I'm
long
not
time.
complaining about the fact that you're doing it. I'm complaining about,
The way they handle it.
yeah, and that she didn't know anything about it, and I didn't know anything about it, and I'm embarrassed standing there talking to a chief judge who's saying your board did this, and I didn't have a clue what she was talking about. And then she didn't understand some of the things in it, so I
The chief judges are told during their training that the League of Women Voters will be coming through to make an assessment. So maybe she just wasn't listening at that very second.
Well, she didn't know it was League of Women Voters. Kevin told me that when I got here. She said it was a board member came in
No,
and
well-
took this, and I looked at a signature, and I tried to figure out what the signatures were, and it was a carbon copy, so I couldn't read them all. And she had the judges sign it, and I said, I said, this woman isn't a board member, that I know of, and it was, I was embarrassed, and the chief judge was not happy with this setup, so.
They give us a full report at the end of the
Yeah, and I've given you the full report in the past.
Yeah, I was going to say, we
You
got it.
get the
That's
full
why
report.
when I said it was half
Yeah.
of it.
It's part after every election,
Absolutely.
after the full election, we give you a full report of what the league has reported.
I'll just say speaking to Jackie on this, I mean, I know about it. I know they did it, and I know the report when we're going through things.
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever had a discussion of it per se, and this is what the league does, and they come through and whatnot. So I can see how you could have missed this.
No, I had no idea
It
the
was
League
never-
of Women
we never
Voters did
discussed
anything
it.
until.
Yeah,
I
no, we
said
haven't,
it.
but
Well, just so you know, Montgomery County has, actually, we started the program, not before my time, here in Montgomery County, and not the previous election director, but the director before that, I think her name was Carol Evans, received a national award for this program. And we've been doing it since then. I know it goes back to at least 1996. It might go back even further.
Well, it sounds like we may just need to publicize it more, so that.
Well, I think
or,
it
you
just
know.
needs to make sure that the election judges are trying to listen. They have to there is a lot of material that they have
I
to
bet.
cover during their training.
Right.
Eric, have we gotten any complaints this election or last that anybody didn't know what the League of Women Voters was doing in the polling place?
No,
He's got it?
with the
No, maybe?
with the materials being out there, with the voter guides, but that was something clarified the last election. I haven't had that.
Not this.
I haven't heard that this time around at all. We've talked to all the. It was mostly the rec centers and during early voting.
Yeah, and the polling place survey was the question that arose about whether the chiefs knew that they.
Yeah.
People
We
had complained.
talked to a lot of the places.
They sign where it says board members. And he makes a good point. Maybe some of the confusion is, when you sign in, there's the lines for the board members. Maybe they
They
sign
signed
in.
there, their name. That's
No,
why the
that-
chief judge said,
Yeah.
oh, it's a board member
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
And we should probably
We
redesign
could
that form
even,
because we don't really have
even have
enough
a line
lines for-
designated for League of Women
Yeah.
Voters.
Yep.
You know,
I think
rep or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So that's how they sign in. That makes it clear all around.
St. Peter's, they said they had that scan now this morning.
We talked about precinct 10-3. I got a report that there's a scanner down there, and it's been down since the morning.
And she said now it's probably about 30 minutes. Almost
10-3, 7 Locks Elementary.
That's the one that Alan asked about earlier, where they
Okay.
they had reports earlier on about a scanner that was repeatedly jamming. Romer went out and took it out of service. They were down to one scanner that was functioning. They were also using the emergency bin on the second scanner.
Okay.
Which one is that?
10:03.
How does that work?
St. Peter's, just so you know, the alleged 3-hour. At peak, according to the chief judge, there was around, before 9:30, there was a line. It probably was an hour long. Now the line is 30 minutes long. And
The lines are what?
30 minutes long. And the line, as you can imagine, is the biggest portion of the line is at the scanner,
Where's this?
St. Peter's.
Oh, it's going to, from the emails this morning, David, you had an inquiry which Margaret said she was going to answer at the meeting.
Yes. Although I didn't get Margaret's handout.
Oh, here.
Thank you. Not yet. That addresses the.
Well,
No, I had it
the question that, so this is the instructions that we received. So basically, what happened was on Saturday afternoon, around 2:15, we were informed by the state board that there was data that was dropped and that we should stop loading our poll books with the information. We were advised that there was going to be a conference call at 3 o'clock and that a decision would be to advise the local boards of elections. Now, first we heard there was going to be a conference call at 3 o'clock, so then I started calling around to my fellow directors, and it ended up that if the conference call was not with the local board, it was an internal call with the state board. So we pulled all of our staff off, we assigned them to other things, and then we're still waiting around. At 3:38, I sent an email asking to Nikki and John Spears, who is our state liaison, what's the story. And around 4 o'clock, John Spears, I was able to reach him, and he told me that Linda had decided that we are to continue to load the bulk update file to the poll book, and that they were going to send us a list of names with instructions that would come later. Now, we did get the list of names, and we also were informed at that time that a small number of voter status updates were not captured in the bulk update. For example, a voter that performed an address change during early voting and then was issued a ballot would reflect the address change, but not the ballot was issued. Although the number of voters affected is small, they're located in every county. So we started looking at the file, and it was over 3,000 names, not a small number.
Montgomery County?
Yeah, that was just Montgomery County. So I talked with the IT manager and how we were going to try to do this, and
Do you mean ours or the state's?
no, our IT manager,
Okay.
Janet.
Uh-huh.
And then we were told that the instructions for managing the information would be forthcoming. Well, forthcoming was at 10:26 p.m.
Wow.
And that included the instructions for the judge. By that time, I had decided at that point that I thought it wasn't even worth it to try to send out that information. But Allison continued to work with the state. We printed out the state instructions. We printed out the list. We followed all of the instructions of the state. But the instructions, when I finally did see them, said that we were to have every check-in judge verify the list to the poll book and to see if the record was updated. And it just, to me, that we had a 3-page ballot, and it was just going to create another additional line for no apparent reason.
So you're saying that they would have been looking at the list every time someone checked in to see if the voter was on the list?
That's what the instructions were.
Okay.
And so, Montgomery County, as we have just heard earlier today, does not like standing in line. And so I felt that those instructions, if somebody had contacted me and said, do you think this is a good idea for Montgomery County, I would have told them no immediately, that they had to come up with a different idea. Originally, we weren't going to do anything, and we were going to do it all on the back end. But since the instructions did go out and the list was there, we felt that the best thing that we could do was to enter the data into the system. This way, nobody would have the opportunity to vote twice. And not that anybody would, but it certainly eliminated that possibility. The other thing is that some of those lists were 10 people, 12 people, up to 40 people. There's absolutely no way you could cross-check that in an efficient sort of manner. So Janet and I came up with the instructions that were ultimately sent out. Before I sent them out, I ran them past Kevin and said, let's go with this process. We will attempt to try to minimize the possibility that someone would try to vote twice. I can't guarantee you until everything comes back that they successfully entered that data into the poll book, but we certainly encourage them to. There are other jurisdictions that handled it in a very, very different way, and I'm not going to rat them out how they did.
You know, I asked the chief
Very
judges.
different than what the state suggested.
Oh,
Emily
yes.
did?
Mm-hmm.
So like everyone did their own thing, or a lot of people did their own thing.
I can say 2 people did their own thing.
Will you get results from those 2 anonymous people, counties, and let us know, did theirs work better than, were they as close to being as big as we are, or have as many, and did they have a system that worked better, just for future reference?
Well, we're the biggest dog on the block, so there's nobody going to come close. But I will be happy to.
County, forget it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the other thing is that you need to always remember is that in Montgomery County, we have our voters culturally are used to voting absentee. And so they're going to participate. And then that was another piece that was very disturbing, was that supposedly these were going to be address changes and same-day voter registration, but when we opened the file, the big thing was absentee. And that wasn't even mentioned in any of the emails or the discussions. And so, and then overall, and I still haven't nailed this down, but I was told that there were 10,000 statewide.
Wow.
What happened?
I have no idea. I'm sure that somebody will find out afterwards.
Margaret, some of the drop data were these same-day registrations during early voting?
Allegedly, yeah.
One of the precincts said that they entered in names of 8 voters, and so I guess you all know
Poll book?
it won't come out evenly when you look at the
Well,
poll book and the number of votes now.
Now, what's going to happen is, to try to mitigate for that, we are going to try to cancel those VACs. And the thing is, are the instructions to our judges is that those VACs will be attached with the list, and one way or the other, whether they entered them or not, we are going to have to account for it on the back end of the canvas process.
Margaret, those which I've talked to, which I've visited so many places, they said the instruction was so good, they did it in the morning, no problem, they followed the instruction, they didn't have any problem doing it. So they did it. So they didn't have a problem.
They were very clean compared to these.
Does the state know what we did?
Oh yes, the state knows exactly what I did.
Are they?
They're not happy. They're not happy with me, nor are they happy with Kevin.
Do we need to give a hoot?
No, I would not give a hoot.
Just to know what we needed to do.
I mean, I'm concerned. My concern remains that, we have the.
Excuse me, I only said it that way because that was on.
Two things. Number one, if this proves nothing else, these poll books have to be replaced in time for 2020.
Agreed.
You cannot have these poll books.
Yep.
And secondly, the communication from the state when we have these type of occurrences needs to be more robust or forthcoming. Because basically what happens is all the directors are calling around trying to find out, well, what did you hear? What did you hear? It's not running on fact, and we're dealing with concrete names, and I just think that it's a disservice.
Well, it also sounds like they gave you instructions without telling you what happened, and so that you weren't in it. You're kind of operating slightly in the dark when without because you don't know what the boundaries of all this are. There's a lot of information that you would ordinarily want to get, and of course the voters very much want to know as much as there is to know, because in the absence of information they're going to assume something worse than what it was.
Well, and the other thing is that and I'll end it right here, but at least for my purposes, but when you're sending out instructions on Saturday night at 10:30,
that's unconscionable.
And we're done with our poll books. Our company that's going to deliver the poll books is coming in at 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock to shrink wrap them to get them delivered starting at 7 a.m. There has to be a cutoff time. There absolutely has to be a cutoff time. The phone call, they should have contacted the directors, had a discussion with us included to see what could be done. There were counties that had the poll books were out with the election judges, and there was no way that they would even be able to touch them.
When was Jim notified?
At the same time everybody else was.
Whenever you got my letter, what was it, Monday morning?
I guess part of my concern about the communication was apparently the judges got an email that we didn't on the night before that we got Kevin's letter, which had less information than what the judges got. So when we were going around from poll to poll yesterday, there were questions that were being asked that we had literally no way of asking, just like what you were describing for the League of Women Voters. In this case, it was, why are we doing this? Why are we,
what question do they have? Because I visited so many places, they were all, they didn't have questions. They said they all did it, they understood, they followed the step.
Well, the biggest thing is that the letter to the judges made clear that the state was suggesting that we do X and that we were doing Y, which is, I'm not questioning the decision. It sounds like it was a good decision to do it our way, because it sounds like it was a much more efficient way of dealing with it, and you also minimize the possibility of mistakes all day long. But that does lead to questions from people as to why we're doing it one way and the state is doing it a different way. And it would have been helpful to know the information we just got, so that when people ask those questions, that we are able to, to answer them. It sounds like we have a very good explanation as to why we were doing it the way we
We
were.
always do differently.
Yes, but we're also Montgomery County, and we always have very educated people
Yeah.
who want us to explain more rather than just telling them what to do.
Margaret, is it the appearance of this that it's working all right today, though, that there's not a lot of glitches going on? Is that correct? You're not hearing anything about it? Okay, good.
Then the question is when the state learned about this. When did the state board learn about it?
State board already knows about it.
No, but how early?
How quickly did they tell?
Before
did they
November
tell,
3rd, did
yeah.
they learn?
Right. Like, did they know it?
They told you very late. They must have known a long time ago.
Well,
I have no idea.
It would have to have been after the conclusion of early voting.
Yeah.
Just as a sidelight, is there any reason that we should a little bit later question the state on on the background of this, of how it happened, why it happened, when it happened, with whom it happened?
We may have voters. We may have voters on this list who potentially. Let's hope we don't. But we may have voters on this list who say, "No, I didn't vote on early voting," and then we made them vote a provisional.
Well, I just wonder.
I would think it would be useful for us to know how they got on the list. It looks like from this document that it may be people who requested their absentee ballot October 20th, between October 20th and the end of early voting, which is a narrower group, because obviously we're going to have, probably 30,000 absentee ballots.
Let's put this on the next meeting agenda, because we might find out between now and then, and it'd be moot, and we might decide there was no problem or whatever. On the other hand, perhaps we want to ask the questions of the state. So, what do you think? Put it on next month's agenda, but not discuss it now, because there's no
next
reason
month,
to.
if we meet next month.
I said the next meeting.
Okay.
No, we got to certify.
Well, that's true for the November meeting. I mean, I think Margaret's bottom line is the right one. We need to replace the poll books, and if this provides ammunition for that, then I think all the more reason to find out what happened, etc. Because whatever it is, it's like I think Kevin said it in his note to us. The fact that we're having issue upon issue suggests that something needs to be fixed.
What convinces you, Margaret, that it was the poll book that was the problem?
It's the data that goes into the poll. It's part of the whole network in the system.
Well, perhaps we need to send a letter to the other counties and to the legislature asking for new poll books. But maybe there's a whole series of things.
There's money allocated for poll books. Where the state is trying to figure out which ones they're going to get.
Well, maybe the next meeting you can just report to us what you may find out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to know some about it, because we're going to have to address all of these issues
in the
during the canvass.
Right. Okay.
Kevin,
Well,
do we have to pick our polling places?
Margaret, when the state does these,
Take two of these and put them in here. David, are you going to grab lunch or are you heading out?
I was going to grab lunch.
Why don't you grab it right now?
Okay,
because
you're sending me somewhere?
I'm sending you to
it's
Fraser because I've gotten
precincts.
6 calls about Fraser since this meeting started.
Oh,
Everybody-
okay.
The wait in Whitman is
What's that
an
for,
hour and
Jackie?
15 minutes, they say.
The precinct.
All right, I'll
we
grab
pick
it now.
precincts and we put them in here.
Councilmember
But
Harper.
don't look at the numbers.
It's good to see you up there.
I don't have my glasses on.
Tom
I can't
Harper's
see.
good to see you up there.
Okay.
I don't have my glasses on. I can't
Anyway.
see.
Two, Lisa? Why they don't have to look?
Because these
Why
are the ones
they
that are going to be
cannot
auditing. So
They all, we're not supposed to know what's being
all
audited.
right. Lisa says,
But they're all.
if you want to
So,
adjourn, you can.
yeah, we're going to
what's
adjourn,
the
I think.
complaint?
Yeah.
Is there a motion?
I move we adjourn.
Second?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.